Shalom, my brothers and sisters. Shalom. My name is Symmanayah, and welcome to Words to Yashar'al, Nation of Believers. This series is called Less Than 10 Minutes. Less than 10 minutes. And if you're tuning in for the first time, you will come to know that Yashar'al, of whom I am speaking in references, are those who seek to worship and obey the Most High Yahuah, the Almighty Yahuah. Those who accept Yahusha as Mashiach, our Messiah. These words are to you. And I ask the question in each opener. Are these words seeds, water? Do they represent an increase? May the Most High confirm or make clear the message in these words. With that said, this is less than 10 minutes, and this particular subject is Passover, instructions with purpose. While many brothers and sisters are arguing, debating, forming camps on when the Passover should be celebrated or acknowledged, while many brothers and sisters fight over whether to start it in evening or morning, how and what to eat, or whether it should be celebrated or can be celebrated because we're in captivity. While many people struggle on the part in Scripture when it talks about observe this festival throughout your generations, observe it as a festival and everlasting law. While many struggle, fight, many camps, many groups, many individuals are divided on this matter. I submit to you, my brothers and sisters, that Passover, one of the feasts that we are told to acknowledge, it is more in the message regarding Passover than about us coming together and eating a lamb. In Exodus 12th chapter, verses 1 through 14, I invite you to read them thoroughly. Exodus 12th chapter, verses 1 through 14. Read them for me, please. Please read them with a prayerful mind and a heart, with a purpose to grow and increase worship and obedience to the Most High. And after you read them, I ask that you ponder on some questions. Or before you read them, ask these questions to yourself. And as you read them, see, could they line up? Could these words make sense? And the questions read as follows. Was timing important? For this Passover section, Exodus 12, 1 through 14, was timing important? Was there a sacrifice made? Were there criteria that needed to be followed? Did we witness an important use of blood, i.e. the blood put on the doorpost? Is this an example of atonement? Was it about eating the flesh of a roasted lamb? Or was there something more for us to get out of this whole passage? Was an expectation established as a result of obedience or disobedience? Do we read in this passage that those who obeyed were spared the wrath of the Most High and lived as far as it relates to the firstborn and what occurred during this Passover? Can we see clearly instructions were given, complete with benefits and or consequences? In other words, my brothers and sisters, do we see details given on how to execute this Passover? What do you see most clearly in this passage of Scripture? Many magnify it just to mean the Mashiach. Many magnify just the word atonement alone. But I submit to you, brothers, examine this passage of scripture with the full embodiment of instructions that required obedience to live. Look at this. For in Passover, there were detailed instructions given. And if the flesh lusts against the spirit, in other words, if the flesh war against the spirit, as mentioned in Galatians 5:17, the flesh warring against the spirit, as mentioned in Galatians 5:17, then is this feast about us eating and fellowshipping with one another and having a good time? Maybe, just maybe, it is more about worship, and the proof of our worship is in our obedience to the Most High Yahuah. Maybe it was about following his precise instructions so that we may be spared his wrath. Who is able to accept it is the Spirit of Yahusha that guides us? If you doubt that, consider John 14:26. Let us seek out the expected functions in each message and words that we read and share and present to one another. Let us seek with expectations. What is it that we must do? Let us learn how to obey and live. Let us come to realize that the Passover were and still do represent a time of detailed instructions with purpose, with an opportunity for us to live. And yes, does it also relate to the Mashiach's sacrifice and resurrection? Indeed. So let us not be remiss to realize that there are specific instructions that must be followed. And they come, yes, with benefits and no consequences. Specific instructions that we must follow in order to partake in the benefit of life. The Passover. Will you continue to argue and debate or wrestle or struggle with when to have the feast, or how should the feast be, or whether we can do it in captivity? Or will you look beyond the flesh and look at the true message that's embedded? The true message of following detailed instructions. The true message of understanding what atonement is. The true message of knowing that in following detailed instructions with a purpose and following the guidance from the Spirit of Yahusha, that Passover was about following these instructions and therefore have an opportunity to receive life. Ponder on these words, my brothers and sisters. Ponder on this message, and you decide what you would look at as the core message behind Passover. Yes, there are some other details. Yes, there are some practical things that must be done. But ultimately, the core message, the core function that is presented to us is how to follow instructions and know what that purpose is, know what that function is. You be the judge on these words, my brothers. Pray on it. Study. Pray some more. Be encouraged. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, until next time, you have been listening to Less Than 10 Minutes by Symmanayah. And again, this segment was Passover, Instructions with a Purpose. Take care, my brothers, my sisters, my family, and be strengthened in these coming days, for the time is at hand to increase in discernment, understanding, and obedience. Until next time, shalom, shalom, shalom.